All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Tuesday, April 1st. We have a 7-game NBA slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, absolutely free down in the pinned comment. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3 for more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. In terms of those final plays yesterday, not exactly the best day here. The Celtics -4.5, that comes through for us, but the Clippers team total didn't really get too close. Jalen Green over 21.5 points and is over 2.5 threes. Yeah, that was pretty tough to watch. He just stunk it up, and honestly, pretty close to being in the DMB graveyard after that. I mean, Jalen Green has cashed for us a couple times this year, so I'm trying to be nice and try not to get too wrapped up in it. But man, oh man, what a terrible look from us yesterday. We can own that one and wear that one for today because that was really, really bad. Speaking of one that got kind of close but didn't come through, we had ETN here with the ride of the day. Josh Giddey, over 18.5 points. We got it at 17.5. He finishes, what, 15 points? So under. We got to drop the womp there. But you know what? ETN and me can share that womp because that Jalen Green play was that bad that I own half of that womp, right? If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it's simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day down in the comments. I jump on board with one person's play each and every day. Give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. I also post it over on my Twitter/X. If you do want to follow me there at FGuyBoston, it'll be popping up right here on your screen in the bottom left of your screen throughout the show. And you get posted on the Guy Boston Sports site with the final plays. If you win, we continue to ride with your plays. Unfortunately, if you lose, like we had yesterday, we get the shout out going, but you do have to face the womp there. But guys, let's go ahead and jump into this slate. Make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Got some weird ones here. Not exactly the sexiest NBA game set today, but you know what? We're going to dive in and see what we got. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you guys are dropping your plays down below. Really do appreciate it. And let's get going here. Starting it off with Milwaukee taking on Phoenix. Both of these squads are in kind of like a tumultuous situation, right? They haven't been doing all that great. Giannis on the injury report here for the Bucks. He is listed as probable, so that's obviously good to see and good to note. I think he's only missed one game over the last 3 games, and he's been playing a decent amount of minutes, right? His last 4 games that he did play in, he's played 30-plus minutes overall. So I think that there is a good chance that Giannis plays today, which is going to be a big factor because on the other side of things, Kevin Durant is listed as out. Bradley Beal's upgraded to questionable, so I guess that's good news. But realistically, if this Phoenix team is struggling and Milwaukee's struggling, Phoenix is missing Durant, their best player, arguably their best player. And Milwaukee actually at least gets Giannis. I think this is probably a decent Milwaukee spot. Damian Lillard is still out, obviously, for this Milwaukee team, so that's worrisome. But to me, the way that this Milwaukee team can still score on Phoenix is getting down low on them. They're allowing nearly a 70% field goal percentage at the rim to their opponents. I think Milwaukee's going to have to start focusing on getting to the basket and not shooting threes without Lillard. And honestly, against catch-and-shoot jumpers, Phoenix, not all that great, which is good because that is what Milwaukee's going to do without Lillard. Against pull-ups, they're very good, so maybe Lillard wouldn't even have been the most impactful player. Like, this isn't a Lillard-type game, so I'm thinking it's a Giannis game, and for that reason, I do like Milwaukee here, minus the points. You can get 5.5 right now. I know the graphic says -6, but I think that they dominate the inside today. In terms of what we have from a total perspective, I would have liked to say over, but I don't think either one of these teams are going to prioritize pace. And when you're missing guys like Lillard and Durant, Beal might not play. I feel like there's too many names there that are going to make this one fairly low scoring. So yeah, I kind of have this pegged right in the 223 range, which is obviously very close to that total, but I'm going to lean towards the under here in this spot. From a player prop perspective, I think the injuries, we want to know about Giannis before even diving into any Bucks spots. And then who really knows who's going to step up in place of Durant? So I don't think I have any player props, but obviously, like I always tell you guys, if we add any plays that we don't talk about in the video to the final plays, I'll make sure to give a little bullet point or two or a few sentences as to why I like it and sort of the reasoning and rationale in case you do want to ride with me or if you do want to fade me based on, that little excerpt there. Atlanta taking on Portland. Another one we're going to want to keep an eye on the injury report. Trae Young listed as questionable, but he's been on the injury report for a while, and he usually plays, so I expect him to go. Anthony Simons listed as questionable as well. So both point guards for these two teams and big scorers for both teams on the injury report. This Atlanta team hasn't been playing the worst of basketball, in all honesty, and they're at home here. I think is a big advantage. Portland has lost 4 straight games. New York, Sacramento, Cleveland, Boston isn't the easiest stretch of basketball, so I think we can cut them a little bit of a break, but there are a couple reasons why I think this could be an Atlanta spot today. So Atlanta, they can score from multiple spots, obviously, but realistically, they're either going to take it at the rim or shoot the 3 ball, and Portland's decent in terms of preventing that 3. I think that they should be able to stop the 3 ball today overall, but I don't really see what's going to be stopping inside. Jeremy Grant most likely missing this one. We don't have Ayton still. We don't have Robert Williams, so I do think that, guys like Rishiche, even Okongwu could probably, survive and thrive down low in this one, which if Atlanta's playing at a crazy high tempo like they like to do, top 10 team in pace over the last 10, I think they can outrun Portland as well as kind of get theirs down low. Now, the defense is what will concern me because obviously this is not a very good defense in terms of what we see from Atlanta. Their last, 5 games here have been 115 allowed, 119 allowed, 121 allowed, 122 allowed, 124 allowed. That said, 3 of the last 4 games for this Portland team, which they should be the team that, kind of wins on defense, or at least when they've had their really hot streaks, they've won on defense. They've allowed 122 or more to 3 of their last 4 opponents. I already talked about their strength of schedule over that period, not exactly the easiest, but nonetheless, still, I think this is a decent Atlanta spot solely because of the pace and the interior scoring overall. I don't think I touch this if Trae Young doesn't play. That should almost go without being said. But if Anthony Simons doesn't play, I like it even more. But again, it is going to be, Trae Young specific, I guess. In terms of what we have from a total, I don't think Portland's going to keep up with Atlanta, so I think I want to lean towards the under, but at the same time, I think Atlanta could get out and run in Portland this season, allowing 53% field goal percentage in transition, and if they do run, Atlanta allowing 55%, so it's hard for me to take an under, even though that is the direction I lean. It's hard for me to take an under when I think that Atlanta is going to dictate the pace of this game, so I will lean under. Just know that there's a little caveat in there that it's I don't think it meshes exactly with how I think this game's going to go, but I would also feel silly being let's go over, and Portland's the offense on the other end. This is a team that on the road this year has been a bottom 5 offensive efficiency team, so tough total number there because it's so high, but even that number being that high, I think obviously benefits Atlanta as well because they're the fast-paced team, so I think it's telling me that at least making that line, telling me that Atlanta is kind of the priority team here. Knicks taking on Philadelphia. Now, obviously, this Philadelphia team has been struggling, and they are a struggle, however you want to phrase it, right? The Knicks, have been starting to get a little bit better now. Have they played the toughest schedule? No, but 4-1 in their last 5. They're 4-1 straight up as well. This Philadelphia team is 1-9 and 3-7 against the number. But they do seem to play the Knicks tough, right? Even if we just look back at the game that was just about, a month ago, Philadelphia 8-point dogs. They keep that game to within 5 points. The game before that, they were 6-point dogs. They keep that game to 6 points. So I do think that, Philly could try and keep up with this Knicks team, but even those games that I'm referencing, that is a different Philadelphia team. They just got beat by, almost 20 points against the Raptors at home. Now you have the Knicks, who are a good home team, 25-12 so far this season, against the number at home, 50% cover rate, which obviously this is a massive number. That's going to be a little bit different, but to me, you do think that this is probably a Knicks spot. But the only way that I'm most likely touching it would be in some sort of slimy parlay like we do, right? Where we move this 14.5 to 2.5, maybe pair with Bucks money line if Giannis plays, something like that we can almost back the Knicks without having to worry about a 15-point win. Because we have to remember, Brunson is out. Deuce McBride, who is playing point guard for him in his absence, out. Okay, Campaign, right? No, Campaign also out in terms of all three of the guys that were stepping into that starting role. So it's not exactly the best of situations, right? But we did see with the same sort of rotation, 2 games in a row, Knicks beat Milwaukee, and then they beat Portland by like 17. So if Karl-Anthony Towns can get it going, and I do think that he can today, this is a bad paint defense in Philadelphia, I think that we could see him obviously have a decent game. I also like Anunoby today for his points. Overall, I think Anunoby could be a decent look. In fact, what is his points line at? Let me pull that up really quickly. 21.5. He's been crushing it, right? He's been absolutely torching that line. He's averaging 24 over his last 10 overall. So, yeah, I don't mind it. 29 in his last 5, by the way. I don't mind it, but I think that we're kind of late to the OG Anunoby train. But I think both those guys should be able to dominate in the paint today, helping this Knicks team at least win by a sizable amount. I just don't know if I get to 14.5. But I can't sit here and say with this injured team that just lost by almost 20 to the Raptors, who are a lot worse than this Knicks team, I can't sit here and tell you Philadelphia plus 14.5. So give me the Knicks. In terms of a total, I think Knicks team total over would probably be the safe route to go. The Knicks defense hasn't been all that tremendous, but at home I would say they're a little bit better, and their perimeter defense actually has been playing pretty well, which Philadelphia, the way that they're scoring lately, has been chucking a decent amount of threes. So I think the way that I would do this is saying, let's get Philadelphia out of there and just have the Knicks go get theirs, which they're going to need 117 points, over 116.5. I think that could be a potential spot today. So, I mean, they haven't been doing that. Like everything I've said about this Knicks team, it sounds like rah, 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 go Knicks. They have had their struggles, but I think they're starting to point the ship in the right direction, even with injuries included, before the playoffs here. So give me their team total over. But like I said, Anunoby, Towns, maybe there's some SGP potential in this one that's kind of like mirrors a slimy parlay, which if you don't know what the slimy parlay is, I don't know why we use that phrase, but we asked you guys if you like it because I had been using it because it does feel kind of slimy. You take a 14.5 point favorite, you knock their line down to like 2.5, and you throw it into a 2-leg, 3-leg parlay, something like that. It just feels kind of slimy. So that's why I used it. But essentially, that's what we would be doing with a same game parlay as well, right? Trying to judge the game overall and move everything down and massage those numbers with some slime. Yuck. How about the opposite of yuck here? We do have a Paul Skeens free square over on Underdog. Yeah, we're talking basketball, but you know what? Baseball is getting into the thick of it here, a week into the season. If you guys aren't watching our baseball videos, make sure to go ahead and check it out. But you have this free pick now for 2 days, because I think he gets the start tomorrow. So 2 days to use this free square. When signing up for Underdog, you can also get up to $1,000 in a deposit bonus, which $1,000 is absolutely crazy to say out loud, but all Skeens needs to do is throw one pitch. This is not 0.5 strikeouts. This is not 0.5 anything other than pitch count. One pitch from Skeens, and this bad boy cashes for new customers. All you have to do is pair it with another one of your favorite player props or multiple player props. The more you win, the more you get paid out. Really cool, guys. Underdog, what I love about them is how easy their interface is to use. Whether you're on the phone, tablet, laptop, computer, desktop, anything, this thing is super, super easy. You can place a lineup like that, and why would you not throw the more than 0.5 pitch count play into your lineup and boost it? So if you have not signed up for Underdog yet, go ahead and check it out. That link will be down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment. Either way, you can get there. You can also just use code GUYBOSTON when signing up, and you'll get all of those same promos as well. Again, this free square and up to $1,000 in a deposit bonus. Go check it out. Underdog, that link will be down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment. All right, let's jump back into the second half of these games. I have the Spurs taking on Orlando. Kind of a tough situation as I break this one down, just because I think Orlando is a far, far better team. I think that they care more about this season overall, but they're on a back-to-back, and they haven't been playing. Did I say the Spurs? Orlando is who I'm talking about. I don't know if I said Spurs, but Orlando is the better team. They're on a back-to-back. They're in a way more, let's win some games down the stretch situation, right? They're the 8th team right now in the East. Now, in terms of with the limited amount of games left, I think they're like 1 game out of the 7 seed, so that could matter. I think them having the 6th seed, which you don't have to play in the play-in at that point, I think is probably a stretch. They're like 4 games out or something like that. But ultimately, point being is that Orlando probably still cares about this season, whereas the Spurs are like, let's go out there and just get this over with, right? So, yeah, you see that 3.5 point spread. You're like, I think this is Orlando's spot, but Orlando on the back-to-backs this season have not been all that bad, but San Antonio's been really, really good when they have a rest advantage over their opponent, which is weird to say, but yeah, that does kind of concern me. I think I'm going to try and block out the fact that this is a back-to-back and all that type of stuff, because there is, in my opinion, such a discrepancy of defense, and also I would say Orlando just the better team overall, but defense being the main sort of cog in this one here. So I am going to lean towards Orlando, but it's tough to do because, like I said, Orlando pretty good on back-to-backs, but San Antonio, 67% of their games when they have a rest advantage over their opponent, they've covered in so far this year, and throw in the fact that they're at home can only help that as well. Orlando just a 46% cover rate on the road this season, and they just played a game against the Clippers yesterday, which obviously, may hurt them here because they are on a back-to-back yet again. In terms of the guys playing yesterday, Wagner and Banchero played a ton of minutes. They had decent games. It's like, yeah, if you're looking to get the Spurs at a plus number and whatnot, this is probably the time to do so. But again, I just think that this Orlando defense is just too legit to kind of fade. So I'm going to back them. I also don't mind the under in this one. I think that that's going to help Orlando. A low-scoring game playing to their pace on a back-to-back should be the type of spot that they're kind of focusing on. And for what it's worth, if we do trust those trends that I've been talking about, on back-to-backs this year, Orlando has hit the under in I want to say I think it's 58% of their games, and then San Antonio in 54%. I might have those flipped, but either way, Orlando on back-to-backs have been hitting the under, and then San Antonio with rest advantage over their opponents have been hitting the under. I might have the 54 and 58 flipped, but either way, both those teams have that 54 plus essentially under hit rate. So don't necessarily mind that. In terms of player props, I actually did put this one around for a little bit, kind of to no avail. The only thing that I really thought about was Stephon Cassell here over in his points. Right now, I think we're getting, let's see if we can get an updated line here. Yeah, 18 and a half, excuse me. He's going to shoot a ton at the rim, and I do think that this Orlando team is going to put a lot of pressure on the perimeter, and he should be able to get down there. Now, he's also going to be able to score in the pick and roll and some isolation as well. But yeah, I like his over points. I don't mind his points plus assists either, because he is going to try and hit a lot of spot-up shots, but Orlando closes out on those really, really well. That's why I say I like him in the paint, because, a pump fake and drive could be really good. But if they do close out on his spot-ups, maybe it's one more pass to another guy or a nice swing for an open shot. So Stephon Castle could be a decent player prop look today, but like I said, guys, it's kind of a weird NBA slate. I don't think I'm going to be forcing anything today. Bulls taking on Toronto. This one is definitely one of those just grimy games that I'm kind of talking about. But there is a chance, and this is kind of crazy, there's a chance that I roll with Toronto plus the 5.5 points. I've seen a 4.5 out there, so I imagine this line is going to drop. If we can still get a 5.5, I don't mind it. Chicago was playing some good basketball. They've lost 2. Now they are on a back-to-back. Now, it was a tough game yesterday against this OKC team, so I'm not really giving them crap for losing. They did manage their minutes well, so I don't think the back-to-back is going to kill them ultimately. But, again, we're talking some trends here with back-to-backs in the last couple games. Chicago this season, 27% cover rate on back-to-backs. 2-7. 73% of their games they do not cover in on back-to-backs, and they're sitting here as a nearly 6-point favorite. Toronto, with the rest advantage over their opponents, 60% cover rate. They've also covered in 62.2% of their away games this season. I think Toronto scores in the paint all over this Toronto team, over the Chicago team. Scotty Barnes and Jakob Poeltl should be good to go. RJ Barrett listed as out, but I think that this is a decent Jakob Poeltl look, as well as, Scotty Barnes as well. I give Scotty Barnes a lot of credit for not being one of these guys that's like, oh, I'm injured, and, just kind of like moseying around for the rest of the year. Like, he's still been playing, and I, like I said, give him a lot of credit for that. I think that, so Jakob Poeltl, Scotty Barnes, but then also a look at quickly in terms of his points, rebounds, and assists, or just his rebounds and assists. This could be a game that we have a crazy high pace here, and it should be. You have Toronto, who's been playing fast, and the Chicago Bulls have been playing fast. So when you look at quickly in games that have that high pace, he has just been crushing it overall. So yeah, I do like the idea of him, playing a decent amount of minutes, running in transition, and getting going. So in games that have a total of over, let's see if we can get this filter correctly. Games that have a total of over 228 in the last 7 of them, right? Last 7 here of 228 or more, which this one has 236. So obviously that is well over. He's crushing it here. He has 14. So out of the 7, 6 of them he's gone over. 14, 5, there was the under. 10, 14, 10, 10, 12. One of those games included playing against this Chicago squad. So yeah, kind of like the idea of him in this spot. That was just about, a month and a week ago. So quickly could be a look as well. Decent amount of player props, but I do like his PRA as well as his just rebounds plus assists. But I like Toronto plus the points. I think they can score in the paint and keep this one close. Chicago on a back-to-back. And like I said, both teams high pace. I'd be silly to take an under. Give me the over. Memphis taking on Golden State. Memphis coming off a loss to the Celtics yesterday. This game means a hell of a lot more. They are the 5th seed. Golden State is the 6th seed. So that has some major playoff implications. And the half game separates them. So this should be a massive game for both parties. I think that this is probably the best game on the board today. Overall, but yeah, Memphis being on a back-to-back could hurt them a little bit. Gary Payton out, Jonathan Kuminga is questionable. This is a tough one. It really is. I mean, if you look at this with no back-to-back included, I think that, you could even make an argument that Memphis could win this game, but back-to-backs in a tough game against the Celtics last night, and then in a even bigger situation here, could see some issues. What I will say is Memphis's perimeter defense is not their strong suit. Obviously, Golden State is going to shoot a decent amount of threes, but that said, they're not all that bad against catch and shoot, not all that bad against pull-up, really good at covering the isolation, and their one sort of concern where you can get them would be in the pick and roll, and Golden State doesn't run much pick and roll, so if we can get a line, like if this bumps to 6, right, and then we're saying it's going to go in that direction, kind of don't mind Memphis, especially with Ja healthy, with a healthy squad. I mean, assuming everyone plays, even though they're on the back-to-back, I really do like it. Ja Morant, Bane, Wells, Jackson, and Edey. Jackson and Edey should have a massive, and we've had some success targeting teams that may be worse than Golden State, but have a huge size advantage. They should have a huge size advantage over, Jimmy Butler and Draymond down there, right? So I do expect Memphis to be able to kind of control this game and control how it goes, and if they run and play fast like they like to do, I don't know if Golden State's necessarily going to keep up with them. Now, if this is a low-scoring game, Golden State has the advantage, but take a peek at that total, 237. The books are telling you that this is going to be an up-tempo game, and who does that suit more? Memphis. So you can make an argument for Golden State. If they hit their threes, then this one's probably over, but if Memphis makes it even a little bit tough on them defensively, I love the idea of Memphis plus 6 if we can get that. I don't know why that 5 and 5, like I could see this having that push potential being really crucial because 6 would be 2 threes, against a good perimeter team with a guy named Steph Curry. So I like it if it gets a 6. I'd consider buying that half point if necessary, and I don't mind the idea of an over because I think that suits Memphis as well, but I'm much more, I shouldn't even use the word confident because it's Golden State and they have been playing decent basketball, but I am much more confident in the idea of Memphis than I am trying to peg the total because this could easily flip on its belly and Golden State says, no, we're going to slow this thing down. So kind of tough to just be, gung-ho about an over here, especially when, 1, it's a high line, 2, you have Memphis on a back-to-back, and 3, what if Golden State says, no, we're smart enough to say, let's slow this damn thing down, you know what I mean? In terms of player props, I do think that Jimmy Butler, this is a weird one. I rarely bet this category, but Jimmy Butler over 1.5 blocks and steals. I think this is a really good matchup for him, as freaking weird as that is, but he should be, he should be kind of in there, and you have Jaren Jackson, maybe some Aldama, and, Edey, all these guys that aren't, and he's going to probably share some defensive, responsibility on these guys. All these guys shouldn't be putting it on the floor in front of Jimmy Butler. So I don't mind the idea of him over 1.5 blocks and steals. I know that's kind of weird, like I said, but could be a decent look. Now, he hasn't been necessarily crushing this line. He's only hit it in 4 of his last 10 games, but in 5 additional games within those, so out of the 6 that he's missed, 5 of those he's had at least 1 block or steal. So he's only 1 away from cashing this, and you're getting a plus number behind it. So yeah, for what it's worth, I know that this is kind of a crazy one, but I don't mind it. In both games so far this season, boom, he's had 2 blocks plus steals. So Jimmy Butler, over blocks plus steals, 4 plus money, something that I am considering right now overall. I guess it's a weird one, but it is what I'm looking at. Denver taking on Minnesota. This game matters for, I guess you could say it matters for both squads because Denver's still eyeing that 2 seed, right? But Minnesota trying to get out of the play-in. We just talked about the Grizzlies and Warriors being, half game there and whatnot, but Minnesota sitting at the 7 seed, a half game back of Golden State, so they're going to come into this one really, really wanting it. But if Denver is healthy, which it's a huge if you look at their injury report, Murray, Brown, Jokic, and Aaron Gordon all listed as questionable. If Denver is healthy, I think that they match up pretty damn well against this squad, and I do think that I lean towards them, but it's going to require them to be healthy. You throw in the fact that Denver hasn't beat Minnesota dating back to last year in 5 straight games. It just seems like they're due. They are at home. They've won 3 of their last 4 games. Minnesota's also playing good basketball, but like I had mentioned, I think they match up fairly well. So Denver should be able to compete with Minnesota's, interior and be able to score on them inside. What have I been saying Minnesota's really good at defensively all year long, which isn't always the most apparent by the numbers, but if you watch enough of them, they're a very good perimeter defense. Denver's going to say, okay, take your good perimeter defense. We don't really care. We're going to try and pound you down low, right? So I like that spot. You also have a pick and roll offense in Minnesota. They run it a ton. Denver, one of the better defenses in the pick and roll overall. And Denver's going to be very good at stopping the pull up and catch and shoot jumpers, which is something that Minnesota does a ton of. So if you just look at the raw numbers saying, oh, Denver on the perimeter, yeah, you're not going to look at much and say it looks really all that good. 21st in terms of points from 3 allowed. But 5th in terms of effective field goal percentage against the catch and shoot, and then 5th also against the pull-up. So I don't see it being all that easy for Minnesota to score from the perimeter. So give me the favorite here, Denver. I actually see a 3 out there right now. If the thing goes to 2.5, I might even just consider Denver on the money line, because then at that 2.5, we could probably get like minus 135, minus 140-ish, right? So that'd probably be a little bit of a pivot there overall. In terms of a total, yeah, I would see that. I would say that this is probably a game in which we see a little bit more offense than defense. I did focus on Denver's offense and them being able to score, but Minnesota, last 10 games, no one is shooting the ball at the rim more than them right now. And Denver, bottom half of the league in terms of preventing points in the paint. So I do think that, Denver should be able to stop their perimeter game. But if Minnesota says, hey, let's go score down low, they can certainly do that. And then that's how this game is going to go boom, boom, boom. And 2 offenses that, though they don't run in transition a ton, you have a 55% field goal percentage team offensively in Minnesota, and then a 57.5% field goal percentage team in Denver. Neither one of those defenses is all that great in transition either. So we could see some points in this one. I don't mind this getting to like 232, 233, which is a decent amount over. So I'm going to lean towards the over in this spot as well. But in terms of player props, there are a few spots that we could look at. I already kind of mentioned the idea of guys that score down low. So I do like, someone like Julius Randle for Minnesota, because he's going to be a guy that tries to muscle down there and that type of thing. On the other side, I think Denver's going to have Jokic playing really, really well. I think that he should have a decent game. If he doesn't, we could see some issues in Denver trying to win this one. So I would say anyone that's going to really prioritize scoring in the paint for either squad could be a decent pivot in this one overall. But guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, you know exactly what to do. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Comment 27. 27 minutes into the video. Why would we comment 17? I can't even do math right now. Comment 27 if you made it this far into the video. Really do appreciate you guys. Like I said at the end of the MLB video, so if you watch that, it's going to kind of sound repetitive, but we're grinding right now. I mean, it's tough to do 15 games of MLB every single day, then do NBA, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of less sleep and all that. But you know what? Love doing it. You guys have put me in a crazy, crazy situation, so I don't take it for granted, and I'm willing to work to make better and better videos and just bring them to you guys every single day. So really do appreciate all the support. I mean that, truly. Catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.